Hello, good evening and good day, dear YouTube audience. This is the live stream number 8 from Frontend RheinMain this year. And we're really close for Christmas, so hopefully you have still some energy left and enthusiasm about front-end stuff before you're going into Christmas vacation. I think we all deserved a little break after this strange Corona times. So, and yeah, today we have a really interesting topic. I hope this is also for you interesting. I want to welcome you to Giorgio Boa. He's from Italy basically, and luckily he didn't need to travel to our front end Rhine-Main region, so it's just a click away, and you are here connected to us. That's really cool to have you here. Yeah, I'll make it short this time. So just without any slides from my side, what is Frontend Rhein-Main? Maybe you don't know it yet. We are a community around Frankfurt, Wiesbaden, Mainz, this regional location, and yeah, we do it for some years now, also with some nice real 3D meetups previously, and now it's all virtual. Yeah, and we always are searching for like interesting topics and interesting speakers with cool topics and nice side projects they want to talk about. So yeah, connect with us on Twitter. You can find us on Twitter on the Meetup platform. And yeah, we will do a short winter break in January, most probably, and then we'll be back with some nice sessions in the year 2022. Yeah, that's it for the small introduction from our small community. And yeah, Giorgio, maybe you want to introduce yourself a bit, and then we can have your session in a few seconds.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm really happy to be here today, and it's really cool to be in touch with one click because we are not so near, but with the online community now is possible. So it's really cool, all this stuff. I am Giorgio Boa. I'm a full stack developer, but the JavaScript ecosystem is my passion. So I'm here to share with you my knowledge.
Cool.
I am also a community manager for Italian community, Italian coders.it, and we talk about many different technology, front end and back end, of course.
Cool. So we can post the link for your community later in the chat, right?
Yeah.
And yeah. By the way, if you have any questions during the talk, please put them in the chat. We will have a Q&A session and some small Christmas celebration in a Zoom call. We'll post the link in the chat as well. And if you have questions during the talk, just place them right away. We collect them and take a look at them, and then we can talk about it afterwards. Yeah, I'm really curious, Giorgio, because I also fell in love with Svelte. Beside like the other frameworks, Angular, Vue, and React, I really love it. And I really got curious how you approach to get stuff running in AWS really fast, or with like for some prototyping or like MVP, small project, right? I'm really curious. And how did you discover Svelte? I'm really curious about what was your way to that you landed with Svelte and are happy, hopefully, with it.
I worked mainly with Angular and React, but 2 years ago I discovered Svelte in a community talk. So I tried it, and it was blazing fast, so impressed me a lot. So I decided to improve my knowledge of it, and now we are here to share a simple way to create an MVP.
Cool. Okay, cool. So I think we can start now, right? ask as many questions as you want in the chat. And we're happy to connect with you later in the chat personally. Maybe we can see each other a bit and yeah, have fun with the session and enjoy. Here you go.
So welcome to this talk, Effort Optimization with Svelte and AWS. I am Giorgio Boa, Chief Developer at Flowing. You can find me on Twitter. My handle is @Giorgio_Boa. So if you have any question or feedback, you can send me a message. I want to tell you a real story about a recent application that we developed. Here I reported some of the constraints that we had. So first thing first, we would like to check if the business idea can be good or not. So validate new business idea. Second, our customer was afraid about the technical debt because in the past he had a lot of problem with the old libraries and so on. And the last one is adopt the serverless approach to be as fast as possible. So here some of the acceptance criteria that we had in the application. These are the conditions that a software must meet to be accepted, to bring value. Here I reported some of them. The most important, quick time to market. So we want to validate the idea if it was good or not. Fast application to support also all devices. So the performance and reactivity was a key criteria to bring the value. And work also offline because users with a low connectivity area must use the application in a good way. So we thought a lot how to get performance in our application. And after a week, I remember a great idea came in our mind. So why don't use Svelte? Svelte, after the compilation process, the output of the compilation process is vanilla JavaScript. So we don't need any other thing into the browser other than JavaScript. So this approach, we can have a really fast UI. So what I mean for vanilla JavaScript. Here we have this guy. This is a Svelte component, simple one, simple enough to show what I mean for vanilla JavaScript. Here a script, and here the HTML. This is a button, and every time I click on the button, the count increased by 1, and the label will change. So the output of this component after the compilation process is this one. And here we create the app class that extends Svelte component. Inside of the constructor, we call the super method and the init method that arrives straight from Svelte internal. Here in init method, we have a lot of parameters. 2 of them are instance and create fragment, these 2 functions. The instance function has count and handle click. This our script block. So the return of the instance function is an array with count and the function handle click. So we call the init, and here we have the method from the internal of Svelte, and we call the instance function. The result is stored into CTX variable. This variable is passed to create fragment, this function here, and CTX is our array. So now we create the variable t3 value, is a string, time or times, and then we have the return object. Here we create our button, and then we append the text. So clicked and here our variable, a space, and the value of the free value. So our string times or times. And here in the M, we insert the node, the button node into the DOM, and we attach a listener. Because here we have the listen method from Svelte internal, and we attach an event listener to a node. So our button was passed here, and we attach the event listener to an event that is our click event. And here our handle click function, disposition of the array. The result of this listen is remove event listener that is stored into dispose, because if we attach an event listener, is a good practice to remove them when we don't need anymore. So here you can see how Svelte compile a simple component, but anyway is good enough to understand under the hood how it works and how is really fast, because we use only the DOM API. So to be as fast as possible and optimize the time to market, we decided to use AWS service. So also for optimize the effort, because out of the box we had a lot of things. So in 1 week, only 1 week, we implemented a solid login workflow with AWS Cognito. Out of the box, we have a login, logout, change password flow. AWS sent for us a registration email and implemented two-factor authentication. We have a secure place, a safe place where store our user data. So it's really cool. And here we can federate our application, so we can log in with Google, Facebook, and single sign-on. Here, a little snippet. For use AWS Amplify, we need to import it from our dependency. So we need to install AWS Amplify /core and configure it with a configuration object that hold the keys and other information. So the flow is like this. So our app calls sign up to AWS service and send us a confirmation code by email. With this confirmation code, we call confirm sign up method to confirm our user, our account, and then the AWS handshake with OK. Then we can log in ourselves to AWS platform with a login and a password, of course. Then AWS give us a token and a refresh token. So here a little tip. So please don't store token and refresh token into local storage, because other script, third-party script, can read it from our local storage. Please store them into cookie, because we have a lot of flags for security, and also we can set an expiration for them, for the value. To prevent vendor lock-in and enable really cool refactor and easy refactor, we implemented a solution in a smart way. We used a Svelte store, because Svelte out of the box give us the store API to store the data, and we wrapped all the AWS method with our own method. So in the future, if we want to implement our solution for the login workflow, we can simply touch this file, and all the other file, UI and other JavaScript, will remain untouched. Working offline. We decided to use AWS Data Store for solve the offline acceptance criteria. Here are some of the features of the data store. So we can manage the offline first, because data store the data into local storage inside of indexed DB database. So inside of our browser, there is an indexed DB that store the data, and data store sync with the DynamoDB database into the cloud automatically for us. So manage for us also concurrency. If we have multi-user and that store the same data in the same time, out of the box, data store manage for us the concurrency. Also, if we want to use the versioning for migration and others, we can use a database version that is managed by data store. Here a snippet. We must import AWS Amplify /data store, and we must install the dependency, and then we have some API to interact with the data store and also the database, of course. So here a little demo that explains better what what we saw in the slide. So I share also the Visual Studio Code here, and I stop. So this is a Svelte application, a simple one, and here we have a package JSON. So there are not so much dependency. So we have a Webpack that under the hood compile the application, and we have Amplify auth for the authentication and the data store. So in the source folder, we have the main file that import Amplify, and this particular object that is our configuration for the AWS Amplify. And the configuration is here, and hold my secret keys, but the object is really similar to this one. So we pass this configuration to the Amplify, and then we can use the services that AWS give us. I can start the application so we can really see what the application do. Okay, and I come back to Chrome here, and here there is a Svelte application. So here I can type my username and my password, but before this I need to create an account. So I insert my username at flowin.com, flowin.it. Yeah. Here the password. Okay, and then I retype the email. When I confirm, what's wrong? Create account, user 1234, and then sorry for that, already exists. Oh, okay, I can type another user. Okay, so this is another email. Demo God is impressive. So okay, now the API return us 200. Perfect. So I will check my email, and now I can share you an email that arrived to me. Okay, so here the email. We can also customize the email, as you can see, and this is the confirmation code. So if we take this confirmation code, and we put it into the input, then we can confirm the user. So this is the application. So we pass the login part. If I reload the application, now I'm in the database, and now I can log in myself. So if I write my email again, one at flowing.it, here the password, can confirm, and then I see my super fancy application. Now what can I do? I can store my info. I can store the data into the Cognito, and into DynamoDB. So I copy a name here and I put here. So I set up email and surname and a title. When I click add, a user will be added to a list. So into our application, into the local storage, we have also the indexed DB with the AWS Amplify data store. And here we have a bunch of table, and there are also here my info. So if I add another user, we will see that another record arrive into the indexed DB database. So here, if I go here, okay, we have the data. So this is so cool. Another cool stuff is the offline mode. So if I open an incognito window and I log in myself to the application, here I can use the same, because there are no check for this. Same user, flowing.it. Here the password. Okay, I see all the info. So we have two tabs with the same information, and the other tab is here. Okay, if I add another user, automatically the info pass to the other tab, to the other window. Okay, here. So if I delete this one, automatically the two window will be synced. So if I go offline with this window, we have the offline support that we mentioned before. Okay, I can, with the network tab, I can set offline. So now I am offline with this window. And if I add another person, like this one, if I add this person, here I can see the logo, of course, because I am offline, and but the info of the new person is present in our list. In this window, there isn't any new person, because the window is offline, so data store can sync the indexed DB database to the DynamoDB in AWS. But as soon as I put myself into online mode, some pre-flight and some WebSocket call will be triggered. So now a new person appear in the other list. So another cool thing that we can see from all this application is that we can log in ourselves into AWS console with my account. So now I log in myself. Okay, I'm in the other screen. Okay, I'm logging myself. So here, captcha. Okay, password. Perfect. So here we have the console of AWS, and we can look for Cognito. And now we can go into manage user pool. Maybe I can zoom a little bit, not too much. Here there is the user pool that we are using for store the user information. So this is the console, and then we can have user and groups part. So here I have a lot of user, and all of them are confirmed. This one is unconfirmed. So I can see the detail of the user, and also I can apply something. So I can disable the user, delete the user, re-enable the user, send a reset password, and then I can also see the attributes that are required for login and also for the registration. Now the only mandatory field is the email, but I can put some other fields to be. I can require some other fields, and I can also add some custom attributes. So if you are looking for a custom attribute that store what can I store into the attribute? Maybe the roles or the other information we can store with the custom attributes. So if it is admin or a simple guest. Here we have also advanced security to another for the user pool. Message customization, so we can customize the message as we saw before. So here I insert HTML, and a custom email arrive straight in my Gmail. Okay, and so we can also customize the message, and we can see if we enable it also the user devices. We can store the info for the user devices. And then the interesting part is the identity providers. So we can enable login with Facebook, Google, also with Amazon, and other method. So if your customer asks you to log in with Facebook, it's really straight, because you must configure it into the AWS, into the AWS console. So another cool thing is triggers. So you can attach yourself, you can subscribe yourself to some triggers. So here you can define a Lambda function that run every time the user press sign up themselves or any other events. So in 1 week, in 1 week, we implement the solution, but was only because we needed to understand under the hood how Cognito works. Nowadays, I think in one day I can create the login workflow, because I really know how it works. And then we can also look at the DynamoDB part. So if I go into DynamoDB, we will see our database. So inside of tables, we have our database, and here into this one, yes, indexed, yes, here into items, there is a person database, and here there is all the person. Here we can see the deleted person because remain in our database and was only flagged with deleted. Okay, so if we go here, we can see our information. We can add attributes like another string, a number, boolean, another. We can remove also some data. And here we can download the result to a file, create a new item, so we can manage the whole table. And we can also create a backup and export to S3 buckets. And there are a lot of features inside of this console. So we can return back to our application. And this is a simple Svelte application. And we thought about we see that we implemented all the logic into the store, and here we have a store file. Maybe I can decrease a little bit the font like this, and here there are a lot of methods that wrap the AWS functions. So our store is like a Redux store, because we can subscribe ourselves to every change, and our component will be re-rendered if something will change. So here we have app Svelte, and there is a store with a special keyword. This keyword allows us to subscribe to the store, and if the mode change, the application change. So when I'm logged in, I see the list, and when I'm logged out, I see the login, of course. Here we have the part of the style. So Svelte component have 3 blocks. The first part is a script, the second one is the HTML, and the third one is the style. So inside of one component, we have all these feature. The data store communicate with DynamoDB with GraphQL. So here, after the method, after the command that we need to type into the terminal, data store create for us a GraphQL mutation and query, and the application use this mutation and query to interact with the DynamoDB. Here we have our components folder, where I create all the components for the application. So as you can see, there is a simple component with some errors. If I try to register an already a user that is already in a database, an error come out. We have a list, and we have also possibility to attach some hooks, like on mount, on destroy, and so on. Okay, so here we have a simple for loop. Let me say for loop. So all the items into the store are rendered inside of the list. So we have a wrapper, our list component that render a list item component. So here we have the item component that accept in input the item object, and these special keywords say to Svelte that this particular property arrive into the component, like an input, as you can use into Angular, React, on other framework. So input arrive from outside, and you can render the name and the title. And if a user click delete, we call store.delete function. Store.delete function interact with our data store. So we can go here and we query for a particular person with a particular ID, and then we delete it from the data store with the API delete. Okay, I pushed the code into my GitHub, so I can share the link if you want. So here my GitHub. You can find the repo. I can post in a private chat. Okay. So the step to create all the authentication in AWS are not so much. The documentation is really well written, so you can find all the commands in it. Anyway, there are really a bunch of command. Okay, so we can back to the presentation. I take the presentation. Maybe I close it. Or maybe not. Yeah, here. Okay. So my hint is, as you can see, there are a lot of good solutions out of the box to satisfy a certain criteria. So please ask yourself if a custom solution will be better for you, for your use case, or please don't reinvent the wheel by default. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Giorgio. Cool. This was really interesting. So now let's see. There are no questions yet, so we give the audience a few minutes to maybe raise some questions here. I have a question. What was the most tricky part for you? It seemed like doing it with Svelte and connecting it with AWS Cognito. For me, it seemed like pretty straightforward. Like the main magic thing I think happens in the store. But what were were there any pain points or challenges which you didn't think of in the beginning or encountered during the coding?
Okay. So the most difficult part was to understand how AWS work under the hood. So the documentation is really well written, but you have to understand how it works. Obviously, that this is a simple JavaScript implementation, so you can use it in any other, also in vanilla JavaScript approach, because it is really JavaScript file. So the main difficulty is to understand under the hood how was also the handshake with AWS, all the calls. You must retrieve a code and then mm, send it to the AWS to confirm your account. So this kind of stuff for me was most difficult. But now I'm quite sure that in one day I can reproduce all the workflow in a new application. And if you think that if you have to create a new one by your own with your backend with maybe C#, Java, you spend a lot of time in it.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay.
And also the store approach is a smart way to implement the solution. Not only this solution, but every library for me must be wrapped from our methods, because you never know if tomorrow Lodash will be deprecated, so you can move yourself to another library.
Yeah, so I think you could really do some further implementation without Svelte. Maybe this is not the ideal way. I'm a bit biased. I love Svelte as well, but yeah, it's mainly about these APIs you use in the stores basically to connect Svelte with AWS. And what was the decision to try out AWS Cognito? Did you do it before in your company? Do you have some experience, or was it just like trying it out? Do you know if it should work similar maybe with other providers?
So my company is AWS partner, so the solution was quite straightforward,
Sure.
and we get a lot of benefits from this approach. Also our customer, because in the rest of the weeks we can concentrate to new feature and not with login, and also store the data.
Cool. And do you have some production experience already with this
Yeah, the
project?
application
Like,
is
did it grow
now in
further?
production. Yeah, production. We add some custom attributes for the roles. So if you add a custom attributes that you don't introduce these attributes by design at the beginning. So if you insert it during the production, you need to migrate all the user with a script, but it is quite straightforward. So if you add a new custom attributes, you need to add it to the old user, of course. Yeah. Also the customization of the email with a language. We add Lambda, AWS Lambda, that was triggered from all the events that we saw before. And the customization was easy to implement. And what do you do with Svelte? Do you have create some application, some to-do list?
Yeah, a bit more than a to-do list, but yeah, basically a web application. And I'm currently not using many of the Svelte features, or not all of them, but I like the overall approach of Svelte, like the awesome readability. Like it's really compact, and you can learn it really fast. And it has, yeah, especially the store concept I like a lot. But I must say I come from Angular, and it's like the biggest contrast in Angular for like to-do list or Hello World stuff. Yeah, you have a lot of stuff in place and lots of files. It all has advantages and disadvantages, but it depends on what you want to do, right? When you want to start small, like you did, like just like have some form stuff like of login or whatever, then there is even the possibility to do it with plain vanilla JavaScript for sure. Due to ES6 and such, it's way better than doing it by hand maybe 10 years ago. But yeah, like this nice syntactic sugar which Svelte adds, and the ease of use, and the main thing is of course the compiler, right? Which results in great performance. Fast compile time is always like a big priority in the Svelte team. That's really, it's absolutely worth taking a look in Svelte, and in our community I hope we'll have some Svelte talk in the next year again, or even with Svelte Kit. This is also totally interesting. Like that's like I think it's Svelte Kit is for Svelte what is Next.js for React, right?
Yeah.
Like this single page app wrapper, which adds like offline functionalities and server-side rendering and other stuff. And yeah, I'm really excited what's going on there.
I send you a link in the chat, in the private chat. This is the link for the example from the svelte.dev website, and here you can see a lot of example, and it's really easy to understand how Svelte work.
Yeah. I can also recommend the Svelte documentation. It's really, really cool. It has a live playground with it, so you can try things out. And they really guide you from the beginning until like more complex topics. It's really cool. You can really start really fast with it. And the community is also great as far as I've seen, like really active, and of course Rich Harris now working at Versal. I hope he's still like there with his spirit and driving the thing forward. I'm sure Svelte will have a great future. So for all of you in the session now who never did anything with Svelte, yeah, me and Giorgio can recommend checking it out. Absolutely. Also, yeah.
Rich Harris is the leader of the framework, but there are a lot of contributors also, because it's an open source framework for sure, and there are a lot of people that work in it. So it has 5,000 of stars in GitHub. So really,
and I think I'm not sure, was it in GitHub they did a survey or another platform? I think the State of JS survey. Do you know this? I think Svelte is really gaining a lot of traction and getting more popular. And that's really, yeah, it's worth taking a look. It's driven by a big community. It has some really cool concepts, and it fills a niche. Between React and Angular, and there are use cases for every framework. So that's sure. And Svelte has a nice fit nowadays, right?
Yep. I said 5,000. I forgot 10, so it's 50,000.
Did you just start it, or?
So 50,000.
Great talk, by the way.
Thanks.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. For all the people who are still listening to us and watching us, if you want to win something in a raffle, you should join our Zoom call soon. If you know Vespos.com, he's a totally JavaScript freak, I would say. He does a lot of good online courses on different topics, and yeah, we will raffle one course for free if you join the Zoom call. And let me just post the link here. I think there are no further questions from the audience. Okay. It's Christmas time already, so okay, but maybe we can do a follow-up next week. Next week, maybe not next week, but next year, someday with you. If you have
some other topic.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's it for the live stream. See you all in the Zoom call in a few minutes, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Giorgio, again for the session.
Thank you. Bye-bye and Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you all. Bye.
Bye-bye.